an R34 GTR V-Spec 2. So that is going to be magnificent in terms of bringing that all together. We are going to be in full flow, loving what's going to be coming up in the future in a show in collaboration with Gaming Malta, Motors Inc., Intercomp, Sunshine Snacks, Level Academy, and JCAP. Adam, I look at that calendar and I look at Tokyo Expressway, and I think that's going to be the make or breaker for this championship.
Absolutely, I can really see some of those circuits out there being so important in terms of the championship, especially with the likes of Road Atlanta. The characters around that circuit are incredible. And as you say, Tokyo Expressway, I'm not very familiar with that circuit. Of course, I think there will be some really interesting moments around that circuit. And then, of course, Brands Hatch, that's where you've really got to get the results in before setting yourself up for the likes of the Nürburgring Sprint. It's going to be so important getting them all together. So I think that we're going to be in for a really exciting couple of weeks.
Yeah, I really think we are in with some fantastic action that's going to be jumping itself on forward. There are 2 races here tonight. The first race is gonna be 25 minutes long, and that's, of course, going to be where the majority of the points are in. But we'll take a look at our circuit and also our car at the moment. Just a 3.076 kilometer variant. We do miss out the big double hairpins out on the full variant of Grand Valley, but here we will be jumping in. It's what we know as a medium speed track, so going all through the middle sector, you've got to be in the tight and twisties. That run up towards turn 2 is the prime place to get an overtake done. But our Mazda Roadster touring car is there, just 205 brake horsepower, but that's up from what it's based on, which is in Gran Turismo circles, the Mazda Unos Roadster, which only has 117 brake horsepower. So Adam, when you look at what this car is and what it deals with, not only is it faster by almost double, it's also shaved off nearly 150 kilograms of weight from the car. This is fast and ferocious.
Absolutely, and around a circuit like Grand Valley, the South variant, I think it's going to be so interesting. Looking at that South section, which is so technical, it looks so incredible to think that these cars are going to be panning around that circuit trying to take every single apex. It's going through tunnels. I really will be absolutely glued to the screen, I think, for this one. That Mazda Rosa is going to be one to really provide some great entertainment around this beautiful circuit.
Well, the key places to get it done here today are going to be at turn 2, up at the top of the circuit. And then you go down and you look as you go down through, you got the chance to go over and make a move. Maybe at turn 6, 7 might be a place. And then, of course, you've got that run through turn 10, which and 11, which might be the final places you can make that pass. What we are going to do, though, ladies and gentlemen, is step aside for just one moment with your Asphalt Kings JDM legends. Because when we come back, it's qualifying and we'll see who will put themselves on the pointy end of the grid, knowing they've got a 25-minute race and a 20-minute reverse coming up on the horizon. Track, and these drivers now will think about sort of times they want to be putting together on the board, and realizing that there is still a long qualifying session that they are just about to embark on in the not too distant future. This is where you're going to be looking around and saying, well, what does this circuit mean for its history and legacy? This is a much different skin, I would say, for this circuit. It's reimagining, but it's pretty much all the same hallmarks, exactly the same as what it was when it was created, as we just have that switch on over now into qualifying, I do believe we've just managed to do. But reality of this, Adam, is that this is a track which has no real context in terms of where the world is, but what Gran Turismo does so very well is it takes its fictional circuits, it plants them somewhere real, and it's decided that this Grand Valley is now going to be a highway rather than a dedicated circuit, and so it's based as part of the Big Sur, so to speak, in the state of California, which is the wonderful hilltop mountain rises that come straight from the ocean, overlooking Monterey Bay on the left-hand side.
It is really interesting to see, of course, where they are put that circuit. You already see some of the characteristics of just going between the Grand Valley. It's really giving you a real sensation. They really are racing around this circuit. You see there's so much dust on the right hand side, which could very much cause the car to have a little bit of a moment. You're already seeing in this qualifying session these drivers are really having to get up to speed at a very early stage. Really having to kind of pull the trigger very early. There was an absolute scurry heading out the 15 cars around this circuit. Of course, it's a 3-kilometer circuit, so there isn't enough room for everybody, but you just have to focus on getting your lap in. We're just about to get the first car over the timing being Adrian Zoom, who get us started with his hot laps, and then we'll be able to see what kind of rough times they aiming for. Because you start off with your bankers and then go out and do your hot laps.
Yeah, and so everybody knows that with just 10 minutes, these lap times taking roughly about a minute 15 to a minute 20, they want to be out there early and making sure that they get one good lap at least. They probably have one attempt only to dive into the pits, get a fresh set of tyres and go again. So they're going to be very alert to it. Big descent down the hill here through turn 2 and into 3, always trying to find as much transfer. Watch out for the grass there on, or the dirt, so to speak, there through 4, but in through 5, 6, and now looking over at turn 7. You're hoping to just open up every single stage of this circuit. You've then got 9 and 10, which come along next, and you're just trying to move over to the right-hand side as far as you can. Use those 3 tyre bales as a real marker through 9. Up the hill at 10 is very difficult, and then around at turn 11, you're looking just to wait for the tunnel to open up for you. Gives you that massive launch where you can go and attack. The pop-up headlights come up then in the tunnel, and then out of the final corner, back into sunshine, and then comes the charge over towards the line. Adrian Zoom then will set the banker for everybody else. A 1:15 almost on the button.
Absolutely, and already some competitive time being put in. There is GRG.GG just going on the line. That's George Hard, who's come off the back of a semi-successful Centre Quarter Competizione Championship in the GT Cup, I believe. But you can see the string of cars just heading around this circuit, over the bridge, and really just trying to find that space with a little bit of slipstream. The slipstream can really make or break your lap, and there you can see Addicts putting in a purple first sector to go with this time. So we're already seeing some of the drivers really pushing away here in a hope to not get involved in any form of traffic. Otherwise, that would be an absolute killer to your current lap and potentially affect your further laps.
It certainly can do, and when everybody is out and hoping that their best times on the board are going to be there, Addicts, of course, setting the pace, has himself about 0.4 of a second, now hits traffic, but this is also going to play a very big factor on this final straight, because this is just slipstream, this is just pure and initiated, and you get this lovely launch along as the improvements start to come in once again. You got Jensen and Button in second, but JS19, then Christian Samet goes quickest. Does Addicts improve? Yes. goes to the pole by 1/10 of a second. So those times including to go in. Carla Granez then moving up quicker as well. But for the moment, you got Ozzy Osbert there is up into 5th position. JS19 in 4th place. So we're starting to see that the main players of the game are moving up to the top. Dens back there in 7th place. Has never traditionally been the best qualifier, but very good when it comes to overall race pace, and actually someone who might profiteer off of the reverse grid race, the second one out there, the second race that we've got. So there's a lot to deal with here. It's only a 5-race championship, but it's a 5-round championship, but it is 10 races right now. And Osbert here, Ozzy making that charge and looking for the chance to move up. Needs about a quarter of a second here to find 4th.
He absolutely is trying to see if he can just maximise the circuit as much as possible. Yeah, going back to Denzel Angie, as you say, not much to qualify, but we saw him last time out in the Asphalt Kings series in his Lexus, I believe it was. Yeah, he did perform very, very well in those races. It was really a threat to some podiums, hoping to try and put himself up to the front. And as you say, reverse grid races are always going to make it interesting. You've just got to be able to maybe hold on to a lead, but this is going to be some championship for sure. Just continuing with a lot of helmet cam, which have followed with one of our drivers down the hill. It might be Christian Samet, I believe it is. Bit of a stitch on the grass and George Pard, that will be a bit of a distraction there for Samet, but he continues on his way, still at the top of the standings.
Yeah, apologies, ladies and gentlemen, for earlier on in the show. If you didn't hear us for a little moment in time, it sometimes does happen for us, but we were able to bring you back to the coverage here and seeing this qualifying as aggressive as you want, having to really put the rotation into the steering wheel here is Christian Samet, who's up by 0.03 of a second, really trying to carry and keep the momentum. The great thing about this MX-5 here that they're running with this Mazda Roadster that they've got here, the touring car variant, is that it is so good, Adam, at its transfer of weight. It's one of the most balanced cars I think the world has ever seen.
Absolutely, and I really think that's going to really play a part, and this is why it's going to suit this circuit, because other kind of cars will have the rear wiggling out, and of course understeering as well. They've been just perfectly balanced. It's really just in the fine sweet spot for that balance. It's really well needed around this circuit. You're already seeing how much these guys are just pushing the limits through that middle section. We continue with, I believe it's Ayerto Birmingham crossing it over the first timing beam, setting a perfect first sector. John Paul Vella, currently P4, he's been in the pits, so he's getting a fresh set of boots to try and push on, so there you can see him in the beautiful Castrol Mazda. Castrol livery. Oh, it does well on a lot of cars. We've seen all throughout the years, all the series, that Castrol livery is just somewhere, and there it is on one of our beautiful Mazdas. So John Paul Vella will now head over the timing beam. I believe he's just been coming out the pit, so he's now going to go on to potentially another banker, or maybe even start another fly. We're not too far in towards this remainder of the session. Only 2 minutes and 20 seconds remaining. This is going to get down to crunch time now here, Jake.
Yeah, and Jonathan Spiteri jumps up, then 113 point flat, and that is enough to go to pole position. Christian Samet, Ayrton Birmingham, John Paul Vella in 4th position right now, and I think it's actually quite a big moment as everyone looks to try and find those improvements. Jean Paul with that classic Castrol colours out there, I'd say a mark of its times. The 1990s huge, but a massive wiggle off the exit there of turn number 8 would mean that turn 9 becomes a little bit more problematic there, and on the exit of turn 8 is in fact where you are going to find the slowdown zone out there. So if anyone picks up a slowdown penalty of a half a second or more, it's in that section of the circuit where you pick it up. So you've got time for the rest of the lap to go and gather it back up once again, but nobody wants to slow down, especially when it comes to qualifying. Not many areas you can make that happen on this track. It is very close to the limits that you can go here, and very much has that street circuit vibe. 13.8 is no improvement then as we head to the final minute, Adam. You can see there the windsock floating across this circuit. They're getting themselves almost a cross tailwind along the front stretch and a headwind for the majority of the lap.
does seem to be that way. We just need now see Ayrton Birmingham just heading through that first corner, what will potentially be, which will be his final lap. So he's going to really have to start pushing on, and hopefully not get involved in any traffic there. Down in towards the next sequence of corners, really trying to just push the limits, get right up to the barrier, get right up to the limits, get right to the imaginary apexes you've kind of got to envision as a racing driver here. Jonathan Spiteri trying to push the limits of that car, and he's into the wall. And so not an ideal scenario there. There's Christian Salmon continuing on his way. We now heading to the last 20 seconds. Salmon is going to try and put that potentially onto the front row. Pole if he can, but it's a big push, 210, and he's gone off the road.
That's not great. Mock-up Rexy in display there from Christian Salmon, and it does not work, so we'll stay third at best. There's penalty for John Paul Vella there. Jensen and Button's just thrown all of the barriers then into play on the exit of turn 8. There is Carl Ingwaneth, who is trying to make this charge forward towards the line. Needs 0.2 of a second to jump up into the top 5. And is this going to be enough? Heading over to the stripe, 1:13.6, didn't improve, was 1,000 short on his best lap time, so gave it everything and couldn't quite bring more. Ivan Birmingham is there now with the Lightning McQueen in full display. And is this going to be Rust Ease or Rust Difficult in terms of this qualifying time? It looks like Alex has got what he wants. Into the pits he goes, but it looks like it's pretty much a game of that is that from everybody here in qualifying. Alex has got the perfect qualifying time he's wanted, and crucially, Ayrton Birmingham on that pole position.
Absolutely, and by 600ths of a second. That's going to be pretty crucial, and that's going to give him that edge down in towards the first proper corner, which is turn 2. So it's going to be really interesting to see how they're going to line up as well with Jonathan Spiteri. I don't think we'll want to give that up. Will he go for the attack down towards the first corner, or will he just wait it out for the rest of the race? But of course, it's only 20 minutes, so he may have to go for that move. But of course, so many drivers in there looking very, very competitive. It's now down to the racecraft to show off what they're made of.
Yeah, and they will note as well that these cars in game were a cost of 90,000 credits from the Mazda brand central dealership, and one of the few cars out there that can be bought from the Mazda dealership despite being part of the older generation. Normally you'd find a 1989 car in the game of Gran Turismo 7 in the used car dealership, but ultimately it's a case of this one not having necessarily a base model out there to go. This is one that you can purchase straight from the section that you see. But as far as that qualifying effort went, I think everyone will have a lot to look at here, and this is going to be one of the tougher challenges for a calendar, because what we've seen from the Asphalt Kings previously is one car each and every time you go through with it all the way over to the end of the racing, but for the whole championship. But now it's different. You've got to adapt to a new car each and every single time. So I would say the ability to be at your level best, it changes.
Absolutely, and this is kind of one thing that we really wanted to discuss going into this. The different cars could be the absolute pivotal moment. Of course, there could be one of the drivers in here that are really looking forward to a certain car and track combination where they don't perform for the first half, but then they have this track and car combination where they go and put 2 podiums on the board and really throw themselves up the championship standards. It could be that is the possibility, and of course this really makes it so interesting for a championship. I think if there's one word to kind of describe the way this championship could go, it's going to be adaptability. You have to adapt to the tracks, to the cars, to everything you've been given and the cars that you've got, and you've just got to deal with them and see what you can make out of it.
Very quickly, we're going to jump away for one moment. When we come back, race 1 is on the other side of this. And so here we go. One race then of two here tonight, with Addix finding himself there. Ayrton Birmingham on the pole ahead of Jonathan Spiteri. Christian Samet from John Paul Vela. There is Jensen and Button in 5th position. Carl Ingwaneth is in 6th, with Ivan Birmingham and Shalinu there in 8th position. It's then Denz who's 9th. Aussie going from 10th, and the likes of George Page, for example, down in 12th position with a lot of work to do. So 25 minutes here to go and get this all sorted. Now, it's worth talking points just before we get sorted, because they are going to be different from race to race. The top 12 score points. It's 23 here in this first race for a win, 18 for second, 15 for third, and then 12, 10, 8, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, which is going to be important because it stays at 6 down to 1. So from 7th on back, you get the same points between race 1 and race 2 here, Adam. But it's crucially 20, 16, 13, 10, 8, 7 when it comes to race 2. So less points on offer in the second race.
Of course, and it's going to be so critical to be able to gather those points over the course of your 2 races that you have every single round. So you've really got to go in with a fresh mindset to kind of chuck out anything bad that's happened in the previous rounds. When we get further into the championship, at this moment in time, everyone will be fresh, level-headed, with just focusing on the race. That's the first protocol they're going to have.
Yeah, well, let's get ourselves into play, because now is the time where talking stopped. Now is the time where action is required. We are underway then here for 25 minutes to start off our proceedings at Grand Valley South. The relocation of Grand Valley East, the layout that we got through the long turn 2, taking the turnpike back down towards the Monterey beaches, and right now the bay is in full view. Ingwaneth with a good start, but everybody who is falling single file, Jensen and Button getting the slide going, and everybody is just looking to hustle and harry, because the middle sector of this lap is about just trying to hold and maintain the corner speed, and that's what we're seeing here. It's not going to be easy straight away to make these moves. You've got to stay in range, and Christian Samet has proven that immediately on the back of Jonathan Spiteri, now dashing up through turn 9 into the tough over the crest turn 10.
Really starting to just try and hassle and hound each other at this moment in time. Keep a little bit of pressure on, but also try and get in a rhythm is the main protocol at this moment in time. Christian Samet has done just that. He's now onto the back of Jonathan Spiteri. John Paul Bella also in behind, so just keeping an eye on that car in behind. But he's really now trying to look ahead here toward that number 2, or that second place of Jonathan Spiteri. He's going to have a look here on the inside. It's very early stages, and he opts back out of it so far, but he could try and dip on the inside as he now looks to try and get that exit down the hill, and they plunge down through the valley and on toward that twisty section.
Yeah, and back down through at 3, and now in at 4, and looking at this small flick left of 5, which opens up turn 6, and again turn 7, which follows immediately afterwards, as 2 jutting right-hand bends that pretty much form like the Degners do at Suzuka. Then out of turn 8, you then have this long lisk under the bridge over towards turn number 9, just trying to pivot for the angle, and for the moment there is Ivan Birmingham, who are on with in 6th position. Shalinu is just behind in 7th. Dens is making progress. He's up into 8th place right now and looking to try and gain a little bit more, but the gaps are forming here on the rolling road start, which is very traditional here with Gran Turismo 7, and then launching along this front stretch. Uphill drive as well, which means the slipstream slightly more valuable, as Christian Samet is now up into 2nd, but look out, here comes Shalinu going for 6th. We'll have to go the long way round turn 2 to make it work.
Absolutely, he's going to now try around that outside. Ivan Birmingham is just going to stick it on that inside line and just try and maintain that position, which he has done, but that's going to now allow Oscar Schweder and Denzel Atgias into the battle. They're going to start smelling blood here, and an extra point in here as well. They chuck their car in toward the right hand and just trying to use as much of the circuit as possible. And then you've already now seen the different differencing in lines here. One goes tight, some go a little bit wider through this one, but it tightens up the left-hander. But also, if you're on the tighter for the first part, you open up the next part onto toward the tunnel. So there's so many differencing lines here you can take. And it looks like now we're seeing Denzel Andrews around the outside there on Oscar Schweder, and that move has been completed. Great move there and up to 8th place.
Yeah, but he's got 2 behind, so as far as Osbert Schwereb goes, you've also got Adrian Zoom trying to get in, clattering into the wall on the left-hand side there. Goes Denz, he's got to be careful about that. He doesn't want to run into too much trouble, not getting any drive off of the exit of some of these corners. So there is still Ayrton Birmingham who leads out front here in this 25-minute race, and we don't expect pit stops to be brought into play because they're on medium tyres out there. There's half a second though for Jonathan Spiteri, and that is going to really hurt. John Paul Vella's moved up into second, so it looks like Sammer and also Spiteri have come together out on track, and that's allowed this to go in. There's the bar that indicates that slowdown zone is coming up, and that half a second feels like more than half a second because it's a half a second of just jamming the throttle, which says that's not going to go. It pretty much says you can't do much more than go back to the pit limit. There's the search, but then you're going to have to spend the rest of the straight gaining it back again, and here's where Iguanez now puts himself in play, looking for that 4th place around the outside, inside at turn 10. He's not there.
They're just trying to rebuild momentum in that one, and yeah, Spiteri will be having to look behind him momentarily, see where Carlin Guanez is going to go, but it doesn't look like he can get past this time around. But you see now the gap, he got to go back up to Sam, up to 1.2 seconds. I think Sam himself has also lost a little bit of touch with the front guys up ahead, and they stream over the timing beam and on toward that second corner, through the bridge, onto the bridge they go. It's really starting to see how much of a sprint race it really comes to be. Of course, don't expect any pit stops in this race. Of course, only 25 minutes, but the question is, how much do you want to look after your tyres? Because you can't just push the entire 25 minutes, otherwise your tyres will be slaughtered by the time you get into those last 5 minutes. You need to take care of them just that little bit. But what points do you do it? Do you do it over the course of 5, or over the course of the 25 minutes, or just spend one tiny part of the race just spending maybe a lap or 2 or 3, just taking care of them and then being able to go on the attack for the rest of the race? It's such an interesting dynamic. See how these drivers will play out this 25-minute race.
Well, you know that this is a JDM Legend that they are running with at the moment, but the one thing that they can't afford to do is the one thing that this car is built for, which is going sideways. You've got to try and keep it neat and narrow the best way that you can to make sure that you're maximising the brake horsepower and the lightness of the car. Going sideways is not the quickest way around this circuit. If they were going for the full layout of this track, there might be 1 or 2 corners where they can manage it, but there's your leader. Look at the gap now, 3.3, and increasing here by Ayrton Birmingham. He is at 1 with this front engine rear wheel drive Mazda out there, and this is one which in 1989 is known, of course, as the Unos Roadster in Japan. In the UK it's known as the Mazda MX-5, and if you're from the United States of America, it's the Mazda MX-5 Miata.
Yeah, absolutely, and just trying to really push on. You're seeing him saying purple sector left, right and centre, and leaving John Paul Vella in his wheel tracks there. Birmingham just seems to be, as you say, one with the car, and he's going sideways just a little bit, but I'm sure that he's got it very much under control. He's pulled out a 4-second lead, and he'll continue to just pull that out. He's looking to go and do another fast lap of the race. Next, Johnson Spiteri, my apology on that one, being caught up here to catching up to Christian Salmon. So that battle will have a part 2 to it as well. But Alex, you say 4 seconds out in front. That's a really big gap to have for such spec cars.
Yeah, they are all absolutely the same. There are no differences to them in power. There are no differences to them in terms of their straight line speed or what different tyres they have available to them. This is about as much of a baseline that everybody else is playing with. They've just got to try and make the best out of the car, and it's just how aggressive can you be around this circuit. Third, fourth, and fifth, still chasing. There is Rexy. There, Christian Samet looking to try and really push with Jonathan Spiteri and Carl Ingranez there on the back. Now, these drivers know that it's important to have a good race one. This is where the bulk of the points at the top end are going to be scored, but they also are keeping in mind as well that if they can't make the move, they will have the advantage on the car that they go to for what is the 20-minute reverse then as they go through. It's very unique in this sense that we've got a shorter race after the long one, so the feature's your first race, and then of course your sprint is effectively your second, and here's Spiteri closing down with the slipstream at 0.3 of a second, and you really do need to fall into line using that slipstream to your advantage up over the top of the hill. The highest point of the circuit here is turn 2, and then you have this massive descent down the hill, and this is where you can just get the engine helping you, and you feel like you are at one running through almost what feels like a riverbed as you go through this section, and a purple first sector then that goes through for Jonathan Spiteri, who does have the fastest lap of the race.
Does indeed, he really now starting to show it, just latching onto the rear of Christian Samet and almost toe lining himself up toward the rear of that Mazda, trying to push the limits as well, trying to just see if he can change up the angles. He heads into the corners, trying a little bit tighter here to maximise the exit here, but he's now going to head round that last corner and pick up a big old toe of slipstream. Samet, a bit of a crunch there to the left hand side, but he had managed to get the exit. I think Samet has done the same thing, and he's now just dipping into the slipstream. He'll pull to that left hand side. In fact, he's going to bump him this time around. He does, so he's now going to look. I think he's now going to look to the right-hand side as he heads his way now in towards the first corner. Look at that. I think that's also Jonathan Spiteri just behind him as well, in toward the next corner. I think he's still just hanging on to third.
Well, this is an auto club. You can't go and start bum drafting as if it's Talladega night. But Jonathan Spiteri realises that he's got a bigger play to have right now, which is he wants to get to Jean-Paul Vella, who is there in second position to pick up those points with just a minute and a half out from halfway in this race. Through turn 8 now they go along and look to really attack off the exit. You can see going right up over there towards the dirt that was cascading off to the outside of the circuit. But for Christian Samet, he's certainly got a very nice balance as he goes through the middle sector. As I say that though, he does push slightly wide, and this is going to compromise him here through turn 11, and this is where you need the run, and this is perfectly constructed right now by Jonathan Spiteri, because he can now pick up the toe, look for this run. If I were him, I would have gone for that move, but I think he's just checked that run, because that is Jean-Paul Vella that they've caught, and I think they're both going to go choo-choo, all aboard, we're coming through.
Absolutely, and now Spiteri is going to stay in behind here, looking to that left-hand side. It's not quite moving, making an overtake here, but it's wide for Samet. You're hearing the wheels squealing underneath, just can't take the load. It's being produced by Samet. He's just trying to tell the car to get into the corner and get out of it, because he's got an angry Spiteri right behind him, just trying to dive in toward the next corners, really starting to feel the roller coaster amongst this section, and in towards the slow parts of the section. You see there Jean-Paul Vella, you tightening up that first part to open up the second part. Spiteri, oh my word, the rear getting away from that third place driver, just hanging onto the podium by a thread.
Remember, the more those rear tyres start to scrub, the more likely you're going to be seeing these cars drifting out sideways and struggling through the corners. This isn't a car that's going to deal with understeer over the course of the lap. It's one that will deal with oversteer each and every time you go through with it. It's a bucket of handfuls every time the tyres start to wear down. And behind this group of three, Ivan Birmingham through on Colin Guanyev that we had seen in the background a lap ago. So you're really getting the sense there's the movement that's about. So everyone's trying to hold on. We've got a few stragglers out there towards the back, but at least for now, Jean-Paul Vella happy to sit back in fourth position and say that at the second half of this race, maybe there's a little bit more of a something there. And also 7th and 8th, Shalino and Den's working hard, try and reach Nguyen, and every position we talk about being a very important one to construct. This is the race which shows who's got the outlying true pace of their car in front of them and who can mastermind it through the race. It's more of a case of who can overtake when it will come to race 2 after this one.
Will be interesting when you start to loom in the factor of that race too, but we've still got over 10 minutes remaining of this race. You see there, Ivan Birmingham really fighting that car in 5th place, just trying to hold on for that 5th place and get the maximum amount of points he possibly can. I don't see him catching that trio of Samet, Spiteri, and Paul Vella anytime soon, so you just got to hold up Iguanes at this rate. We're just latching onto this battle once again. But you're seeing there Iguanes now with the safety mix so powerful in these JDM Mazdas, and you see if he's going to pull to the right hand side. He's going to look to the outside here on the Rusty's Lightning McQueen livery. Does he get the braking? Nope, that's going to go to Ivan Birmingham. He just sticks it right on the right hand side, right on the racing line, and defends it for another lap.
Yeah, but the more that you start defending, the more you're going to allow that next group in. It's only 1.3 seconds here for Nguyen to deal with before Shalino and Dens bring themselves into this battle. So Nguyen has to be very switched on to what happens here, because they'll just have 10 minutes to go the next time that they bring themselves over towards the line. And this is where their race is. They know that in front they're trying to stay with, but they're a little bit too far away. They're starting to break away that group 2nd, 3rd and 4th. So they're racing now for a top 5, and that's the difference maker, that you've got Christian Samet, Jonathan Spiteri, John Paul Vella, all their 2nd, 3rd and 4th, saying, well, who is going to be the one that's going to stand up and try and take the bigger points out of this situation? It's a must-need in terms of how they score these points, and the fact that there's more points in this opening race as well here, Adam, might just be a case of it stops drivers from sandbagging their opening race, getting themselves a better grid position then for the second race and looking to capitalise on points that way. I do like the system they've put in.
Absolutely, I think it really just kind of shows that you're not just grabbing all the points in that second race, you're trying to fight for the maximum you possibly can. Yeah, because if you scored all the wins in the second race, well, you're not going to get too far into the championship. You made a finish mid-table where you had the opportunity to go out and fight for the entire thing. But as you say, really well done with the system they got in place. But this battle of Samet, Spiteri and John Paul Vella really starting to spice up here in the last couple of moments. I really do think that this is going to go all the way to the end of the 25 minutes. It's just about those little chess piece maneuvers. Where do you put the car? Where are you going to make that move? Are you going to potentially fake out a move as well? There's so many ways this battle can go, and it's just a constant chess play for the now. I think now we'll see in Spiteri in that situation once again, but is he going to go for the move once again? He's opted to go out of it a couple of times, right? But this is now or never. Up the inside, who's going to be later on the brakes? Down in toward that hairpin section. Samet has to hold it around the outside, use a little bit more steering input, but Spiteri's up the inside. Move done. Second place is his. Now he's got to hold on, but it's going to be very difficult with that intimidating Rexy mock-up right behind him.
Well, pushing in through 4 and 5 and over through 6 and 7 now. Spiteri's still a lot more confident here to use more of the road, but he's so narrow in at turn 8. He can't open up the corner as much as maybe he'd like to. So that might be where there's a chance for Christian Samet to come back. They know that they're gone from the race lead. They're 9 seconds back now of Ayrton Birmingham, who has just romped away at the front of this field. This is just your casual Monday night drive if you're Ayrton here right now. This is just looking around and thinking, yeah, you know what? I walked away at the front of this field. The only thing I can't afford to do is anything silly, and he's just been driving to his own limit. He's got the fastest lap of the race right now of a 13.5 set on lap 10. I think he's trying to just make sure that he's got everything in hand, and he's got it in hand and then some, and it doesn't look like any part of the car is stepping out in any way, shape or form. It just looks like he's able to throw the car in, and wherever he wants to point the car, it goes with him.
Absolutely, and it's just a beautiful sight to see. He's even up to the 113s after doing a couple of laps in the 114s, and he's just constantly consistently pulling away from this group. Yes, they are battling, they are having to look in the mirrors, but that doesn't hide away from the fact that Ayrton Birmingham is really just controlling this race. And George Spiteri getting a big old wiggle from the rear end. It's not starting to like the input that Spiteri is giving the car. But yeah, that rear is potentially starting to go, and I wonder what the condition of those rear tyres. You're hearing the squeals of those road tyres underneath the Mazda, and you're just wondering how far, how much they've got left, how much they've been in use. Are they going to go pretty dead very, very soon? Because now Sam, oh, you can see him now having to get into the slipstream. But Spiteri is very much weaving away here.
Yeah, and now as they're starting to tick over 6.25 minutes left, it's starting to look around like there is defensive pacts having to be made. They're starting to look around and realise they've got maybe 5 laps worth of racing, and you do have to be very alert, especially the exit of turn 2 and the exit of turn 11 out here. You've got those raised curbs on the exit. It's so easy for you to just have different levels of grip on those curves and to have the car spear off to the inside. If you just put the power down a little bit too early, you don't have as much traction as you did before. John Paul still waits and only waits at the moment, realises that Christian Sammett's got every ability to attack. JP doesn't have to do too much here. He's just going to be very happy to pick up the points and then look to attack here in race 2. And if these drivers in front have tyre issues, or if JP decides that he wants to have a wiggle here and that might compromise the line, he's just got to try and keep himself with this group. And if they start battling too hard against each other, he just slips down the inside and says thank you very much.
Yeah, it's a real interesting game. As I said, it's basically like a game of chess. You've really got to pick out your moves very, very intricately. That JPV really just biding his time here. He knows there's more points on offer in the second race when he's where he's starting. I think Spiteri is now going to have to go on the defensive here, side by side.
Well, that's a great move by Christian Sam. It's just a shame that he didn't get himself along. He didn't want to risk himself through 3 and 4 there. Worth noting that Carlo Guanez has dropped outside of the top 8 now, behind Dens, behind Shalinu and Osbert Zverev. So he's gone all the way back to 9th. He's got a big gap to Adrian Zoon, but that group is also starting to get quite busy here as Shalinu really looks to harass Dens, who's in P6, and Denzel Agius there in the Guinness car, trying to get himself then with as much pace forward as he can. And I tell you what, he's trying to go as quickly as possible, because that Guinness, I believe Guinness had a shortage a couple months ago, so there's not much to go around and everyone's chasing it.
Yeah, that's a really, really good one there. But that's going to be an outstanding livery in this championship. Hopefully we get to see that more. We move on towards the likes of the Honda and the Mitsubishi. I'm really interested to see how far we'll get with that. But he's having to look behind here because we've got Gelino now appearing from the rear end of that 6th place car of Denzel Agius. Over the timing beam they go, and on toward that right hand. He's going to have to really stamp on the brakes very, very hard here. But Denzel just have that inside line. Will he run it out wide? Nope, manages to keep it to that inside line, but runs off the kind of the barrier on the left hand side there, and just keeps that 6th place for now. And he's not got too much more defending, but I think tyres are going to really come into question. Well, I sort of talk about tyres. Denzel's obviously managed to keep his well enough, because he's now set a purple first sector, and he now faces down Ivan in the I believe Ivan Birmingham in 5th place there.
Yeah, and trying to get by Ivan is the next big important port of call for Dens, but running out of time to do it. Has closed right up then through turn 9 and 10, and now the long turn 11 where you wait, and finally when you see the bridge, you can see the tunnel, you can put the power down and say, I can now really attack of this final sector and go with everything that is there. Look at the difference that Slipstream makes up the hill. The lights come off and you go into extra Slipstream mode because you don't have the pop-up headlights then causing a bit of a distraction, but going through is still going to be closer right now. But there's a little think about it to the inside from Des, but it's just that I thought he's just trying to interrupt Ivan here. Oh, a massive wiggle off the exit of the corner there. That's certainly going to cost a bit of time.
Absolutely, it will do for sure, and I think he's just trying to hold on as well. And of course, that's lost him 3/10 of a second, and the wheels cry out for help through that section. Just trying to throw the car in with as much confidence as possible, with that tighter line in toward the left, in toward the right-hander to open up that left-hander. And I think even Birmingham is going to start feeling the pressure for sure as they head their way through. He's really trying to get in the mirror, as you can see there, because Ivan Birmingham was just sitting in the middle of the circuit, whilst then we're trying to get more open line, really trying to get that car and latch onto the rear, using every single ounce of the circuit he possibly can, using every single inch he possibly can get his wheels onto, and really haul that car up into 5th place. It'll be a fantastic result for Denzel Adjis if he can get that 5th place, bearing in mind he fell down to 9th at one stage, and the race pace has really been very impressive as usual from Denzel Adjis.
Well, here's the thing they might have to deal with when they reach 25 minutes. I don't think it's a case of everyone finishes on the lead lap if they all cross the line. I think it might be a case of here in Gran Turismo 7, once you reach 25 minutes, that's it. You finish the race at the line. Doesn't matter which position you are, doesn't matter where you are. And I think that will mean that that group there of 5th, 6th, 7th and 8th might be on their last lap. These drivers 1st through 4th are probably on their penultimate laps of the race. There is Jonathan Spiteri. He's just building enough of a gap here to break away. It's Christian Samet behind, who I think is going to have to be the one to worry here, because that's going to be Jean-Paul Vella, who has got himself right place, right time, and every ability to go and attack. The issue is that there is still that slipstream in front. It's not gone away. It's just slightly less powerful because you're a little bit further back to try and deal with. They will go on to their final laps of the race. Just 5 seconds is what allowed them. There is Ivan Birmingham coming to the line, and officially 25 minutes has been hit on the clock. So they see the checkered flag and hold themselves. So it'll be then Dent and Ozzy and Carlin Lanyan. But there's your leader, and you'll wait for him to go all the way around to bring himself to the final lap. Oh, a big wiggle there through turn 7, trying to carry the speed. It's the only time we've seen him out of shape at any point over the course of 21 laps of racing at Grand Valley South. There is still one more race to go after this, but he'll have to take that race, it seems, from the back, because he has flown in a way that nobody else has had the ability to do. Rounding himself as we got changes. Jonathan Spiteri has lost out on 2nd position to Christian Samet. They're going side by side as they go through. It will be Addict who will come to line. Ayrton Birmingham takes the feature here at Grand Valley. Look out for 2nd, because this is a drag race. Samet's got half a second's worth of penalty that he can't serve, so he'll be 4th, and it will mean that it's Jonathan Spiteri who will just hold on to that 2nd, and Jean-Paul Vella will take 3rd.
Really, really good stuff there from a trio. But Ayrton Birmingham was the absolute master behind the wheel. Such an impressive race. I think he's ready to do that all over again from the back. It'll be so difficult. I think this is going to be so exciting to see kind of how this sprint race effectively will kind of shape up the championship, and see how that points will come into fruition. Of course, well, we're in for an absolute thriller.
We certainly are. Maximum points on the board then. Exactly what was needed for Ayrton Birmingham. Now walks with a 5-point margin at the top, as is the difference between 1st and 2nd in the main race, to the 18 points of Jonathan Spiteri, the 15 points which are there, of course, for Jean-Paul Vella, and then the 12 points which are there for one Mr. Christian Samet. So that's what they have to deal with now with their points all. But this is where you flip the script. It's a full field reverse. And you saw over the course of 25 minutes of racing that the car at the very back in 15th position was on the cusp of getting lapped. We saw blue flags on the final lap. You put the slow drivers at the front, the quick drivers at the back. You get this massive accordion effect that comes together. And effectively, it's just about who comes out the other end, having made 3, 4 passes. Often, these races have themselves issues on lap one with contact because drivers aren't used to battling with some of the other drivers who are there who don't have as much pace.
Yeah, as you say, it's going to be so interesting to kind of see how this all works. You say your accordion effect. It could be potentially usually one of the midfield runners, unless the likes of Spiteri or Samet or Birmingham have so much pace behind the wheel that by the end of the time they are able to put themselves into P1, which I doubt we'll see for the first race, but potentially maybe for future races we'll have to really dig down and see what happens in those races.
We certainly will, and we'll see what happens in the next couple of minutes because your Velocity Esports Racing production of the Asphalt Kings JDM Legend Series, your opening races of the championship, your opening round here from Grand Valley South, will have one sprint to come, and that will be on the other side of this.
This is the iconic oven-baked cheesy crick snack you've always loved. And this, it's Cricks too. Can you spot the difference? No? That's because there isn't one. Cricks still has the same irresistible crunchy goodness, wrapped in a stylish new packet. Same delicious flavour, brand new look. So snack lovers, get ready to spot Cricks in the snack aisle. Cricks, same iconic taste, new stylish pack.
We've got ourselves one sprint race, which is about to bring itself into play. The field will be reversed from the results of what they had one race just prior. There are less points on the line, but you can argue these are the harder fought points, the more important points, because when you say that every point counts in a championship, I wouldn't want to be dropping 2, 3, 4, 5 different points in this championship, allowing rivals to go out there and scamper through just because I got caught up behind someone who knows how to block.
Yeah, it's going to be such an incredible dynamic between all these drivers. They're really going to go into this thinking, how am I going to do this race from the cards I've been dealt, from the position I've been given, from the drivers around them. They've really got to be thinking, how am I going to approach this, especially if you're the likes of Spiteri, Samet, and Ayat Birmingham. They're thinking how to get past the kind of the first group of former back markers when they get into kind of the midfield stage of the race, and of course they're really going to have to keep pushing away. And of course those tires are going to be I think definitely a factor once again, because these drivers are pushing to the absolute limit, especially on the shortest circuit. The shortest circuit we have on this Asphalt Kings JDM Legends calendar is it's going to be such an incredible mix in a massive bowl, and I just don't know who's going to come out ahead. That's the magic of this championship. That's the magic of this format. Of course, Velocity Esports have done an incredible job with it. It's just about time to get into the race very, very soon. We've had the notification the grid is being formed, so we're just waiting to now get into the lobby, and they will see who is on pole and what the results are going to be.
Yeah, that's going to be very crucial that these drivers go in reverse grid order and look at this race and say, well, now we've got to go and be aggressive. So we'll see drivers like Ilwindi near the front of the field and hoping to make a charge. And Mamri as well, who is there, is also going to be up nearer the point. So we will see a few different names up near the front. It's a great chance for them to hold on, do as much as they can. It's also worth noting as well, this is the car that they've got over the course of all of this that probably has some of the lowest brake horsepower out there of all of the machinery that they'll run with this season. Everything else is a little bit more souped up, a bit more heavier, a bit more traditional out there. So when they souk up from MX-5 to RX-7 in a week's time, on March 10th at the Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta, do you feel like this is the perfect car to just get yourself in, knowing that everyone will look around and go, it only gets tougher from here?
Sure, I think that it's going to be interesting to see how a lot of these drivers approach those different cars. I spoke about that in the very, very early stages, but as you say, that when you've got only 205 brake horsepower you're dealing with, it's going to be it's going to be an incredibly interesting, of course, with a car that, as you say, you can be thrown around a circuit, of course, almost like ragdolled around the circuits like this. We do have the grid formed up, and we're getting ready for that famous green flag to drop here at the Grand Valley South circuit.
Well, Mamri on the pole, Ilwindi then behind, followed by Dealpool and also George Parge in fourth. Jensen and Button in fifth, who dropped a little bit further back. Adrian Zoom, then Shalinu and Carl Iguanez, who is there in eighth position. There's the drop of the flag, and now 20 minutes starts and less time to put it all together. And immediately you see that the pushes are going to be about who wants to be bold. And immediately Ilwindi is looking down the inside of turn 2 for the race lead. Can't quite get the angle or the launch for it. There's a few looks around the outside, the likes of Adrian Zoom trying to get by here on Shalinu in the early goings. But now down the hill, got green flags waving there, which means that they're all good. But Adrian Zoom against Carla Guanez here, and now Ozzy Osbert Schwereb brings himself in. The two teammates find themselves in tandem.
Absolutely. Oh, going in towards that right hand. I think there's a bit of contact between a couple of cars behind. They look for any sort of space, any sort of open air space, as Jensen and Button now pulls around the outside of Deal Paul in the Monster Energy Master, just trying to see if he can do anything about that car. And you also got Gelino trying to push his way through. He's going to try and go around the outside of Jensen and Button as well. So those two are already getting involved in a bit of a battle. Gelino scraping against the tyre barrier. They carry their way on up the banked corner and on toward the hill they go. Bit of slipstream 2 by 2 now from the back for third and fourth and fifth and sixth, and it looks like Deal Paul will just now be overtaken here by Jensen and Button at the completion of the first.
Yeah, Mamri's got the gap, and there is Paul trying to hold along. The outside again for Jensen and Button doesn't work. Big slide out for Adrian Zoom. 3 wide, 4 wide down the hill. That's not going to work out. Surely not. As they go through, how are they still together? Den's now up to fifth, contact with the inside wall, goes for Adrian Zoom, and now he'll come together with his teammate as they battle on down the hill. How are there no slowdowns being given for all of that? You then got Christian Samet, who sits there in ninth, and that could have been total disaster. They still somehow stay all with, and Dens now has an angle here to go past Neil Paul for what is going to be fourth position, trying to look each and every way. Shalinu follows in the tracks, but ultimately nothing there. JP, John Paul Vella making the pass through as well. But this is what happens at the middle of the field. It gets busy.
It does, for sure, and you're just seeing, a couple of slowdowns there for Jonathan Spiteri and Carla Guanez. I really do think that if you're the likes of Christian Salmon, you've got to play this like it's lap traffic. You've got to try and get some cars in between you and the faster car behind.
Oh, JP.
Couple of fastest lap there for. Oh, yeah, you're right there, down the inside. Oh, a couple of contacts there as well. There, onto Venturetto, and Salmon's out wide there, kicking up something on the outside lane. He'll drop down to 13th in this one. George Page has also been involved in a bit of an accident there. He's down to 14th as well. But look at this pack. Down the hill they go. They're split by absolutely nothing. With a slowdown for Jonathan Spiteri and, of course, Christian Salmon. It's going to be absolute chaos. Oh, there goes the Adrian Zoom off onto the outside. And through goes Ayrton Birmingham up to 8th.
Well, think about this. Ayrton Birmingham has got through each of his main 3 rivals, who have all been busy looking at each other. Christian Samet, John Paul Vella, and Jonathan Spiteri. He's through on all of them. Now it's just about Honey. It's about this Pader every position now. He will gain and gain and gain. But for the moment, it's still Mamre who's up there at the front of this field. But it's 3 now to the front. You've got to keep in mind, because Ilwindy's there in second, and Jensen and Button's got pace and is there in third. Shalinu and Dens were all together for the majority of the opening race, and now they find themselves together again at 1/5 distance in this one. Shalinu searching for the inside, not quite there at turn 2, but back down the hill they go once again. But Dens in the sights of Deal Paul, and now hoping that that move is going to be there for 4th in the not too distant future. If you can carry yourself through the middle sector, you've got a great chance of making a move out of 8 and towards 9.
Absolutely, really. Oh, Dan's out onto the stone part of the circuit, just scraping a little bit and chipping off some paint of that Guinness livery. Deal Paul also trying to go back at a podium on Windy as Mamre continues out in front. What is his pace looking like? Well, it's not really pulling away at all, so you're just focusing on this big old bastard Zelino, going to try and find an angle through, and he can push his path, but he shoveled Dent out to the left hand side. He's going to collect the barrier and through, and Osbert Shwedev is also going to look on her way through. Never mind that, it looks like it's going to be Ayrton Birmingham at the break of knots as he's going down this front straight. He may even pick off 6th.
He might do. He's going to be on the outside, but he tucks back into line. So if he wants to make this move, he's going to have to place himself well, because they're going to go 3 wide almost. Oh, big off Ilwindy. Massive off then through the opening corner. He's going to have to try and reverse back onto circuit, as everybody now will scoot off by. Shalinu's gone around as well, which is huge through the opening section. And now everybody start to work out where there's troubles. Dens pointing the wrong way now, and soon the gaps change again. That puts Christian Samet to 8. Adrian Zoom has got himself a slowdown there, but there is John Terry 7th, and John Paul Vella in 6th. Addix P5.
It's going to be quite interesting. And you can see Addix now going around the outside. Can Ayrton Birmingham find that angle on special at him? Not quite, but he is setting himself up potentially. I think that main straight, you saw how much of a toe he got off that main straight. I'm sure he'll know that already from these very early stages. He's a very adaptable driver, and he carries his way on toward the right hand side, pushing his way. You'll see if he gets some slipstream off Dead Pull there right in front of him. They'll battle their way, they'll scrape each other's doors, they'll push each other to try and get that a piece of safety on Dead Paul. But we ride on board now. You just see the top of your mirror there, looking behind here. It is going to be Ayrton Birmingham onto the brakes hard enough in towards the corner, and there you go, voila, he's ahead up into 4th and chasing down a podium after just 6 minutes and 45 seconds.
Yeah, he's done wonderfully to do so. There's been a change for the lead as well. Mamre's lost out that race lead, and now it's Jensen and Button who leads this one in front in the number 11. Oh, Mamre every which way of sideways, going through turn number 7 and over towards turn 8, holding it together quite nicely. But now it's about what that 3rd place is, because there's no way of defending turn 9 now on the outside from Deal Ball, and that's going to be Addix through, and that's easy as you like. Osbert Swearham now is going to try and follow suit and try and stay in range as soon as possible. This is what you find, that these small packs will continue to form and will break up and recoalesce and break up and recoalesce. And now you're looking here at Zverev, hoping that he's got the move on Deal Paul for position. And if he can get that 4th place, he's going to be smiling from ear to ear, knowing he's got to build a margin over those 3 behind, some of the quickest out there who are 2nd, 3rd and 4th. In fact, in order, almost they were, in that race prior, but still having to leave the door open, almost contact front to rear, and they hold themselves together. But now the next group's joined.
Yeah, and that was John Paul Vella having a bit of a moment there in that Castrol colours, now just trying to take that car down the hill and already onto the rear of John Paul. Oscar Zverev would be hoping to put a car in between him and this pack. As you say, it worked so far, but John Paul Vella, JPV, putting a nose in very, very early, and now he's going to back himself up into the rest of the pack. If Oscar Zverev can see that, he'll be absolutely loving life. Seeing those 3 cars, 3 big names, 3 big contenders, batting away in his mirrors, and that's exactly what he needs. But I don't think he'll have that luxury for the remaining, what is this going to be? 15 minutes yet. I don't think that's happening. These guys just have so much pace with they showed in the first race. And there you can see John Paul Vella making that first move on Deal Paul, and they've carried their way down that main straight.
Oh, side by side behind as well as JS continues. Jonathan Spiteri versus Christian Sammer at 9 minutes in. They've got 11 minutes left worth of racing, so we're very much nearly at halfway in its fulcrum at this point. But there around the outside, Jonathan Spiteri continues to try and hold. Now he's on the wrong side of the road. You've got to be on the right-hand side. Otherwise, Christian Sammer breezing around, and it brings Carlos Guanez into play, who has jumped out of the main group in race 1, looking to try and really recover back here in race number 2. And Deal Paul, they just bottle up through the right of turns number 7, and Deal Paul just finds himself turning each and every way the wrong way. He gets pretty much pushed through the corner to lose his 3 places at full spread eagle sideways.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of frustration there from that little group, just trying to shove through, and unfortunately that just sent Deadpool, unfortunately, just a little bit of sideways action, which of course he doesn't want, and down to 9th he goes. Sam will continue on his way to hopefully latch on the back of JPV, but it doesn't seem to be the way he's going to go. Meanwhile, we missed all of this. I had to Birmingham, setting on 13.5, the fastest lap of the race, and then he's gone up into 2nd past Mamry. He's now down to 1.5 seconds on Jensen and Button. How quickly will he be able to catch the Maltese driver just ahead of him?
Well, answer is 2/10 in the opening sector. That's what he was able to do, and he was almost 2/10 down himself. So he's certainly got pace for days, and this might be Ayrton Birmingham at the double here at the Grand Valley. And this is where we know that this is the Big Sur. This is where you're going to have to say thank you very much. This is how good as it is as he goes through middle sector, takes another 0.4 of a second out. He's going to be all over him in a lap or so.
He is, absolutely. You just see that gap just closing and closing, and it's actually closing at an unbelievable rate. I think that's almost a second a lap, and if he can muster that once again, then of course you're going to pass him this time around. So very much Alex is a man on a mission, and that mission has been completed in just over almost half race distance. It's unbelievable pace that he is showing, but if he does go back to back in this in Grand Valley, then it will be very much deserved. With the pace he's shown, the control he had, and just all 3 sessions, it has been an unbelievable show from Ayrton Birmingham.
Speaking of unbelievable, look out back there at 4th place. Osbert Zverev holding a massive group behind. Mamry is starting to drop back into the middle of this because you've got Jonathan Spiteri, Christian Sammer bumping doors into turn 6. How often do you see that as they run to 7? And also Nguyen's Mamry shuffled out. There goes 1 place. Sammer's through. Nguyen now looking to try and pick up Jonathan Spiteri for position, but not necessarily getting it. Give Mamry some credit. It was nowhere in race 1, but he's fighting back. Oh, yes. That's what you love to see. Going straight back at Christian Sammer, picks his pocket at turn 9.
Oh, that was beautiful there from back of the field to what
Jensen's got
is
penalty.
now. Yeah, you're right. We're going to pick up on that in a minute. But as you say, Mamre, that was an incredible fight back from back markers and fighting with one of the top guys already in the championship. That is going to be massive. Jensen and Button with that 0.5 second penalty. He will probably have to hand over that lead because that momentum will be absolutely going. Salmon back down the inside. Spiteri trying to follow him as well. And Mamre going to be left out to dry on that left hand side. Can Spiteri get the run? It'll be Mamre in the slipstream, but he's being pushed out just slightly there. Down the hill they go, side by side. Will Spiteri be able to get this on the inside line? Mamre, this contact. Oh, and he spun round.
That's big for Mamre there, was trying to hold it, but just couldn't. And that means that Spiteri loses ground. Osbert Zverev now still holding for that 4th place with Christian Salmon, but now it's on for the lead and somehow still holding it despite the half a second's worth of slowdown. But Alex is all over it and he's picked his pocket. He's given himself an angle. He's prized it open with a crowbar, haven't quite got the line, but now going through at turn 12, they will duel their way up the hill towards turn number 2. And this is where Alex is just going to need to make this happen. He's waited for 14 minutes to get himself to the point where he can go make this move for the lead. He watches and watches and watches and says, well, how aggressive are you going to be, Jensen Am? On the brakes, the answer is not enough. I've got the inside, but here comes the switch back, trying to come through. Look out in the mirrors, because he's going to try and attack back down the hill, using a little bit of racecraft to get his back. Left favours Ayrton, right favours Jensen, and he gets himself through. What a muscle move!
That was big there for Jensen and Button, showed all the aggression that he needed, and it was just enough to, again, prise open the door. Well, if you're going to prise open the door on me, I'll prise open the door on you there. Miss Ayrton Birmingham, so it's starting to get a little bit rustle up some feathers amongst here, and already with 10 minutes to go, well, this is going to be a hotly heated battle here. I wonder how Alex will play this, because there'll be a little bit of fury, there'll be a little red mist behind the eyes of Ayrton Birmingham, because he will not like what Jensen and Button just did there. But you'll see he's got a little bit of a gap, but watch him just close with that slipstream down in toward the first corner. He's not actually close enough to take the lead here, not close enough to make a move. So again, he'll just have to stick behind the Maltese driver for now.
Yeah, but there's 5 minutes to figure it out here, and Ayrton Birmingham, I don't think it's going to be impatient in the way that he goes about this. Watch out, because here comes Jonathan Spiteri. This is Osbert Zverev's view of Rexy and of the red and white. Almost Dodge colours there from Jonathan Spiteri right now. Descending down the hill through turn 3. Now you've got the left at turn 4. Small kink right of 5, and it leads yourself into turn 6. And now you're just trying to attack at 6 and over to 7. Have you noticed the small L plate on the back of Osbert Zverev's car? As now, look at that, just getting bottled up behind. Jonathan Spiteri saw this brief mist of opening. Christian Sammet couldn't shut it in time. Now they're fighting against each other again into turn 9.
Oh, they're still getting very much close to doors there, smacking doors as well. Oh, and I think the Salmon is just going to take that position for now. I wonder if Jonathan Spiteri is going to try and prise open the door once again. He'll get the run up on towards turn number 2, and it looks like sorry to interrupt on this battle, but Ayrton Birmingham has got the lead.
Yeah, and they're side by side, so Jensen and Button again trying to work the outside line to make this move sorted, and Alex moves through, and this time he just carries the speed perfectly. He doesn't have to worry about overcooking it through the corner. He's got it done, and he's got it done with 3 minutes 20 left in this race. He's got about 3 laps to now hold off Jensen and Button. If he's got anything left to charge back, it would be a second place that he'll be super happy with. But I'll tell you what, Jensen and Button's not letting this one go. Alex, I don't think he's going to have everything his own way as he heads through the final few stages of this race. And remember, he's had to work a lot more places through this field, which means he's been a little bit out of line and had to be more aggressive with his tyres trying to make this move. That's what he's going to be battling with in the final stages, how aggro he's had to be to make these passes.
He has a bit of a moment there out of that penultimate corner. I think Jensen and Button is going to just smell a little bit of a weakness there from that. I also want to see if he's able to maybe get past that. He is just slowly gaining up to the rear end of Addix. Does he go for the move? Well, I think he might have to. We're really starting to closing on those last couple of minutes here, but he's just a little bit too far back. Addix covers that inside line, the rear steps out, but both Am Button and to Birmingham, they traverse their way down the hill. We've just seen John Paul Vella or JPB in the background there. He's not going to have an effect on this battle, but P3 is good for him nonetheless. Oh my word, the rear just stepping out. So the rear's obviously complaining here. They've gone through their kind of a grippy phase. Now they're starting to go into the sliding phase, so just rubber continuously coming off those wheels, and they're just trying to hold on for the remainder of this race.
Well, this is a great job by Jensen and Button. You'd expect that Ayrton Birmingham, the way that he won in race 1, that he'd do exactly the same, but Jensen's trying to take some different lines, trying to open up every corner that he can, but he just loses a bit of ground then and finds himself at 0.3 of a second. But look at where he picks up the launch. Look at where he picks up the launch. Look at where he pulls side by side. Back again at Ayrton Birmingham with what will be surely the final lap of the race coming. So now this is big. One last opportunity between these two. They'll look around and say that it's all about this. Side by side. Addix on the inside. Jensen and Button trying desperately to hold around the outside. That won't cut the mustard, and so you've got to try somewhere else, Jensen, if you want to get this job. Addix holding his station and is all still, but slightly wide, coming through 4 to 5 to 6. They go so quickly through these corners. Turn 7, Addix on the ragged edge, trying to open it up. Big line on the inside then, and half a second. Worst time for it. Half a second, can't get it slow. And it's also there for Jensen. So now there's still parity between them. Addix pulling away, knowing that it's still even keel between them. Big slide over the top of 9 and over to 10, 11, and then turn 12 remain. Addix staving off the challenge of Jensen and Button behind, and will say, coming up the hill, I've got everything I want and more. I am at the double, and that is a wonderful win here at Grand Valley South.
Oh, an impressive win there, and it's an incredible result for from both Ayrton Birmingham and Jensen and Button. What an incredible race. John Paul Valla will pick up the final podium place. And we now watch Jonathan Spiteri finishing a lowly 7th, a far cry from what he achieved in the first race. There you can see a couple of more cars heading over line. Den's just holding on to 10th there. Deal Paul heads over 12, and there is Ilwindi Ivan. Birmingham and Gelino will round off 15 cars who will make up this grid, but we now wait for Gelino to cross that timing beam. Can I just say, what a race we have started with, and an absolute thriller to start off this JDM Legends Cup. Wow, unbelievable stuff.
Absolutely fantastic. And we now know that the master of a Mazda Roadster is, of course, Ayrton Birmingham, and the way that he was able to deliver here today. You simply couldn't ask for anything better than that in terms of the result. But you're looking around at all of these other drivers who were trying to put their result on the table and say, this is what we could do. John Paul Vella and Christian Samet, give them credit. They looked like they were well out of it at the mid-stage of the race. They really fought back to get the places that they deserved. So I would say by no means is this a done deal just by seeing one round of the championship. It is different cars, it is different tracks each and every time we go out racing, and I think it's going to be very telling 7 days from now, Monday 10th, when we head to the Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta and we take on the RE Amemiya FD3S RX7. That is going to be a case of just take what you learned from the MX-5, put up a few decibels on it, and that's what you've got.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see how that car reacts to this incredible circuit. Road Atlanta, one of the best out in the world. I actually did a tier list with one of my friends, and uh, we actually put Road Atlanta at the very top. It's up those one of the best in the world. The characteristics of that circuit, unbelievable. You get that undulating over the crest, under the bridge, through that last corner, and then that first twisty section. It's going to be absolute magic, motorsport magic. I think when we get onto that race course, but we still have to wait for 7 days time for sure.
Yep, and the only place you can catch that is with us here at Velocity Esports Racing. This has been your Asphalt Kings JDM Legends, and it's been brought to you in collaboration with Gaming Malta and also with Motors Inc., Intercomp, Sunshine Snacks, Level Academy, and JACAP. From one Mr. Adam Reed and myself, Jake Sperry, this has been a day where you look to set the tempo. You look to say who is in this championship and who is out of this championship. And I think it's very clear who's in this championship. Ayrton Birmingham getting the double done here today from the Grand Valley South, and realizing that you just don't know how quick everyone is going to be. We will move from coast to coast as we move on through from California on the west coast. We're heading over to Brazelton, Georgia. We'll see you in 7 days in Atlanta as we move to the Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta.